Good afternoon, and welcome back to another episode of the Grimaldo Group, where we love helping families and everyone create wealth through home ownership.
Amen.
With me today, as usual, is the one and only, I say that,
The Juan and only.
Juan Grimaldo.
Hello. Good afternoon, everyone.
Uh, we help people everywhere, not just in Phoenix, okay? We help them in Phoenix, in Arizona.
In California, people are leaving. They're coming here. So we welcome you here.
And even abroad. The only place we don't go is outer space.
Exactly.
We just can't head that way yet.
Not yet, until Elon Musk figures out a way to make it affordable and we can travel up and back. Actually, that I saw one of those rocket ships went up and back in a matter of, I think, seconds. I watched the whole thing, went up and back and then landed. It was so cool to see.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
I remember being in the previous house in the backyard at night, and we saw what some in the event that you had saying, "Oh my God, is this UFOs and stuff?" It was the Tesla satellite train.
That's right. Were we at the backyard? Were
yes,
you there?
We were at the backyard, and here in the desert, you see the sky,
beautiful,
gaze to the stars, and this train. I call it the satellite train.
There was a bunch of lights, and we're like, "What is that?" Because it was so cool, lighting up. It
was very cool.
Yeah. Angel, you're wearing a shirt today. It says, "I'm an entrepreneur."
It is. I mean, I should have gotten a larger size, maybe, but that's a separate subject.
No judgment here.
Yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, and we kind of wanted to talk about entrepreneurship and capitalism. Capitalism is a word that, depending on who you're talking to, it can be.
It can even offend some people.
Exactly. And I've had that experience. I recently was having a conversation with some folks. And, the word capitalism or the subject came to light. And I brought it up because of what we were talking about. And the look in the individual's face was not the nicest one of all.
What do you think that is? I mean, what kind of button do you think you pushed?
Well,
you weren't even thinking about pushing any buttons, right?
No, I was not. I was actually talking about investments, about being profitable. I was talking about multiplication of talents and so on. And so capitalism is, in essence, it's an economic and political system, if you will, in which, in general, the United States is considered to be a capitalist, even though it's also socialist. Where you have social security, right?
Yep.
But in general, it's considered a capitalist country. So it's an economic and political system in which a country's trade and industry, sorry, I got kind of like out of it today, are controlled primarily by private owners for profit.
Yep.
It's not the government dictating everything that you're doing, kind of like Venezuela, Cuba, and other countries out there that we already know about the story.
Right. If you probably, I mean, I'm a little younger, just a little younger than you.
Just a little bit.
And I remember when I was a little kid reading about Russia and how they lived, and you had to go to a job that the government designed for you, and you had to do that. You had they basically engineer your life and their life, so that they can control everything and everyone. And they made it seem like it was equity. And I hear that word thrown out a lot, especially nowadays, right?
It sounds nice.
Sounds very, very, very cool. Like everybody should be equal.
But the compensation under socialism is not based on your efforts.
Yep.
It's based on what the government thinks you should get. Mm-hmm. And that alone is reducing or taking away your freedom. So in capitalism, freedom is present and accounted for, because the sky is the limit, depending on your efforts and your creativity.
You're rewarded based on your efforts, right?
Correct.
Versus socialism, where, like you said, the government dictates what you want, what you make. I have a couple clients that I mentioned to Angel, you're an agent, about inviting him over because they were telling me their story. One of them is actually a doctor, and you know how much he made a month?
How much?
$30.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
It is.
People make here that an hour.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So they cannot own anything. I mean, let's say they gave me an example. So let's say you own a cow, right? And you milk that cow. Belongs to your family. However, that milk belongs to the government. They'll give you a little piece of it, and they basically give the rest to the rest of the people.
Well, and depending on who you speak with, like the condition in Cuba, and me being Hispanic, I speak fluent Spanish, and I have conversations with all people from all walks of life. I like learning and listening, and I also like talking, as you can tell. But some may say, "Oh, that's the U.S.'s fault that Cuba is the way it is." Really? Okay. And so the blame game begins. I say, why is it that in the United States, and these are stats that you can research, correct me if I'm wrong, but the last time I checked, this is the information. Most millionaires in the United States of America are self-made millionaires, meaning they weren't given stuff.
They didn't inherit their money.
Correct. They had to create it from nothing.
Yep.
And of those self-made millionaires, the large majority are immigrants.
Yep.
And why is that? So many immigrants, and I love talking to immigrants that are financially successful, because I said, what made you become who you are? Well, the common denominator in the response is, well, I came to this great country. I love the way they say that. I came to this great country and saw the opportunities that I've never, ever seen before. And they jumped in, head all the way in, and they went all in to the point where they grew and grew to now they're successful business people. So while many of us born and raised in the United States in this great country just wait for someone to come and render assistance
and save
to
them,
us,
right? Provide them with the opportunities, which they're there. And we met Daniel. We're not going to say his last name, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
When I met him, he purchased a home cash. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. So he purchased a home cash back then, and at this point, he had already owned a business for maybe a year. The business that he owned was providing him with a very beautiful lifestyle. And he was an attorney in Romania.
Okay.
And why did he leave? Right.
Yeah.
So when he got here, he worked in every single thing you can imagine. And he worked in construction. And he told me particularly because that was one of the jobs that paid him the most. And then he went to open up this business, which was giving him, back then it was $20,000 a month, which was a beautiful lifestyle. Right. I mean, even now. So going, and what I'm trying to say there is, he came here, was here for about 5 years. At this point, he had already owned a business. He barely spoke English. Yep. But just what I'm trying to illustrate is, if you want to get it, it's there. Yep. If you really want to go get it, the opportunity is there. But most people, like Angel said, they're waiting for someone to come over and hand it to them.
Correct.
And honestly, I mean, my father came here in 1948. He had to pick cotton, pick dates, strawberries. He worked really, really, really hard. I mentioned this to you guys before, but he had to pick 2,000 kilos of cotton to come across the border. Just imagine what he saw. Yeah. I'm willing to pick 2,000 kilos of cotton and go across the pond. I will work my butt off to get to those 2,000 kilos to get an opportunity to come in here and work my butt off again, because he would these date palm trees. Yeah, they're about 50 feet, and he told me he loved it. My dad he loved that job. So just imagine, he not only picked 2,000 kilos of cotton in the desert where it's super hot to get an opportunity to come here and then pick dates, which was a super dangerous job. He loved it for some reason. I'm sure he was making some, pretty penny back then. And it was literally pennies back then. But
well, you said the word he loved it, or the words, the phrase or the term. He was passionate about what he was doing. Yep. And now maybe to you ask yourself, I don't know why. Well, you don't have to know why. As long as that individual loves what they do, they're going to do it very well. And it's like what you do. Exactly. I see that you love being a realtor. And it's a lot more than just helping people buy and sell houses. It's
being an entrepreneur. Because this is one of the reasons I love doing what I do, because it allowed me the opportunity and freedom to go above and beyond, not only for my family, but also to show others how the opportunities there. And again, there's opportunities in everything. My father, I think the owner of the farm back then for the palm trees, he was an Arab dude, and he actually gave him. He said, "You know what? I love your work ethic. I love how you work. I want you to bring your family." And he gave him the opportunity to bring him over, which awesome. I'm so freaking excited, because that immigrant, right, give another immigrant, my father, the opportunity, which goes back to why are people so successful when they come here? People here are sleeping in the laurels.
But you said key words. That gentleman saw a strong work ethic
Exactly.
in your father, and in turn provided him opportunities. You see how these two come connected?
Exactly.
A strong work ethic opens the door for opportunities. A creative mind, someone that's on search mode. It's kind of like a radar detector. You know what a radar detector is? In some states, it's illegal. You're on the highway, you're driving. You want to drive above the speed limit. I'm not saying that's correct, but I'm saying you have that radar detector because you don't want to get a ticket. And it's just scanning. It's
Right.
scanning for a radar, some police officer. And so people that are hungry, people with an entrepreneurship mindset are on the search, and they will reach success because opportunities will arrive because of their strong work ethic. And that is important.
And you know what? You mentioned something that is key. The opportunities will arrive. The opportunities will arrive. Either you are prepared or not, they will arrive.
Amen.
However, the only difference is if you are prepared for that opportunity, you will be able to get it and take advantage of it. Unlike not being aware of it, not having that radar, you're not going to see it. And that's what I see happens here, Angel. We're so complacent because we're so blessed. And I feel like that's why it's been our generations, in the last 3-4 generations, have been blessed with prosperity, freedom, and abundance, right? Yes. So we haven't had any wars here in our country. Back the last one was World War II, right? Yeah. So we have enjoyed peace, we have enjoyed prosperity, and this is what we know, this is what we're used to. And we talk about it just with our kids, right? Our kids haven't seen what we've seen. They haven't gone through the hardships that we have, right? Like, and it's okay if I mentioned when you were a little kid that you guys had to split the soda.
Yeah,
right.
Sorry. Yeah, the story of some of you may have already listened to this. I remember when I was a kid, we were 8 kids in the family. And we lived in the inner city, go to the park. We had great parents. I had a loving childhood, great fond memories. I did use a lot of hand-me-downs. Like by the time the jeans came down to me, they were so worn out that today people are paying good dollars for that.
You should have saved them, Angel.
I should have saved them because my mom, who was a seamstress, thank God, she would do patches on the jeans that were already had holes. And, I don't know why she did that, because it brings up the value when you have a bunch of holes in your pocket, right, in your pants. And I remember at the park, my old man would buy a soda. It was CNC Cola. And then you would not, as a child, get to touch that can of soda. You just like a little bird. You open your mouth and they pour in a little bit of that soda because it's got to go to the next kid. And
I think your dad was a socialist and he was rationing that.
No, he was never a socialist. That guy.
It was necessity. It was how we grew up, and that was our reality, right?
Yep, it was a reality. But what did that do to me? It motivated me. I will never forget these experiences because I said to myself, I will find a way for me to get an entire can of soda. By the time I was 12 years old, so at 12 years old, I decided. No one came to me. My parents were very nice. They never said, "Hey, kid, you got to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and go find a job." Yep. They never did that. And
you wanted it.
I wanted it. I had a newspaper route. Those of you that still know what a newspaper is. And I would wake up. I would put the alarm clock on. And I would go out there and do my route. And then on Fridays, I remember the first time I got paid. 12 years old, okay? And now I have a paycheck that's given to me. I went running to the store and I got myself a soda.
Very cold soda.
And I started drinking it. And I kind of didn't want to drink the entire thing, but I did. I got a little stomach ache. But I was satisfied with the point that I was able to work for what I was getting and I put value into it.
And that's thanks to capitalism, because if you were in a different place, you wouldn't be able. If you were in a socialism, we'll explain what is socialism.
Well, I mean, socialism is it depends who you talk to, but it's a social organization or politically, just like the capitalism is also a political ideology or a format of which you can run a country. But socialism is, in essence, how I see it, taking away your freedom for self-development, because the government is coming in and is going to measure your success and tell you how far you can get. Yep. Because they know best.
Got it. Got it. So basically, I have a similar story to you. When I was a little kid, I used to, my brother, who's he's a few years older than me. He was married at the time. I was probably about 8 to 10 years old, and he would take us on vacation. And this was in Mexico. I grew up in Mexico, so he would take us by the beach. But first of all, we stayed at my sister's house because she lived about an hour from the beach. So we would go to her house and we sleep on the floor. There's no AC. It's humid.
Wow.
It's probably like Puerto Rico. It's super hot, humid. And the next morning we would, load up our ice chest with, they would take their drinks and soda or whatever. And my brother-in-law, he would make this amazing ceviche, and we would take it to the beach. Just we would park in front of this resort, which was really awesome. And they had a restaurant right by the beach. And I'm like, why don't we just stay in the hotel?
Yeah.
And, just, eat at the restaurant instead of bringing our own food, which I hated. I didn't even like to bring my own food. And
you're carrying all the stuff.
Yeah, it was a pain, right? Getting there and leaving. And then how do you wash your hands? We'll just jump in the ocean and, wash off or whatever. But anyways, for me, it was the same experience. Like, I wanted to be able to stay at that hotel. I wanted to be able to stay by the beach and eat at the restaurant, or eat by the beach, would have somebody just bring me the food.
Well, and then so I think that initiated something in you.
Yep.
Whereas it could have been that, hey, I'll never get to that. Because I've encountered people that say, I'll never be able to own a house, Angel. I'll never be able to accomplish much. And I tell them, change your thought process, your mindset, and how you declare stuff upon you and your family. If you tell your child, you're such a stupid kid.
Yep. That's what you have.
That's probably what you're going to instill in the child. They're going to grow up saying, I'm just such a stupid kid.
Yep.
We need to bring each other up, lift each other up, and lift ourselves up so we can be lifting others. Okay.
Everything initiates with a thought. This hat you have right here, you wanted it. The one we have with our logo, it was a thought. It was something that I wanted, right? And everything you have in life has crossed your mind. So good or bad, whatever your thoughts are, that's what you're going to get. So be careful as to what you think. What you think will turn into reality. So what Angel's saying is super powerful, because everything and anything starts with mindset.
Correct.
Why we're here. Why are we getting paid for this, Angel?
Negative. Well, I get paid through the satisfaction that I like bringing.
That's where I was going.
Or challenging the thought process of not only myself, but for others.
100%.
Because as we are talking about these things, it creates an impact in my life.
Yep.
I've had others throughout my life, my short life, because I'm
super young,
that have taken the time to talk to me, Angel. And if they see that I'm listening, attentive, they're going to open up even more. I like shadowing people. My father always told me, focus on individuals that are at a much higher level than you are, son. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean step all over the people that are not where you're at. I always try to focus not only on who's ahead, but also what can I do to exactly. Now, if the individual that is lower or in a separate phase in their different
level, yeah.
But if they're just allowing themselves to drop, they don't even make any effort whatsoever to try to get up from where they're at. It's going to be very troublesome for me to continue to move forward. I have to make a decision. So, but if I see that this individual's making the effort and putting forth, whatever needs to be done, action in getting up, that's going to put more fire in me.
Exactly.
I'm going to move to do what I have to do to help this individual.
100%.
So, again, a person who's an entrepreneur is probably working more hours than the average individual.
Yep.
Like last night, I got home around 9 p.m. I've done this on multiple occasions.
Relax, Angel. Why do you work so hard?
Oh, I've had that time because I'm retired law enforcement. Many of you know that. I've said it many a time. And, they says, dude, why do you work? I says, I don't want to say it's work. I am active.
Yep.
I'm active in life because I love what I do. And no one is telling me to do this and do that. I am free. And sometimes I have worked at 7 days a week. On one occasion, I did it for 3 weeks. There's only one person in this entire world that can put the brakes on me. That's my lovely wife.
Yes.
She pulled me aside and says, have you noticed something? I says, I don't know. Am I getting thinner? And she says, no, there's nothing having to do with your gut. You've been at it for 3 weeks straight, 7 days a week. And I said, really? Okay.
Means you're having fun, right?
Yeah.
Well, we got to be careful though, because we got to take care of the wifey too.
So she was an eye opener.
Yep.
And I had to come and make certain changes and, take care of our
Relationship.
personal life and relationship.
And you're driven. And I think that's one of the reasons you are the way you are. And no matter what, you're going to be like this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're retired, but honestly, you're probably working more now than you were when you were working at the,
But it doesn't feel like it.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of an entrepreneur, right? Or an entrepreneurship is that you're doing what you love. I have some friends, and we have, them, they're barbers. They're amazing barbers, and they do very well. And the reason they do very well is not because they charge more; it's because they charge more because they do very well. Like it's just a cycle. And when you do what you love, it shows.
Yes.
And you see it throughout other people, right? Like in our business, I'm so blessed because I was able to not only provide for my family, but have other people, come with us and also do the same thing for their families and help them thrive. Yes. And that's the beauty of capitalism. You're able to develop all your talents, because God gave you some talents. And I feel like for me, I would not be doing my job. I wouldn't be a good steward, like Angel was saying earlier, with my talents if I didn't do what I do.
Yes.
I work harder, I work longer. And I do have to remind myself to be with my family, because this is the reason, because sometimes we forget, we go at it all the time, that we forget the reason why we're doing what we're doing is because of our family. Then we neglect the reason why. So it's a counterbalance.
Affirmative.
Forget about balance, guys. It doesn't exist. It's a myth. Your counterbalance. Just think about it this way, Angel. Let's say you're at the gym. You're not with your wife.
Exactly.
You're not working. Right? So you're not making money and you're not building your relationship. So if you're with your wife, are you working? No? Okay. Well, it depends.
Depends.
Little too much. But anyways, so if you're with your wife, you're not making money. So it's a counterbalance. And the way I try to design my schedule, because again, I fall prey like everybody else.
Yeah.
We're driven and we want to deliver, we want to do more, and we're ambitious in a good way, right? We want to provide for our families and provide for others. Yet we have to be aware. And that word is amazing. It's a very important word, especially for us entrepreneurs, to be aware of where you're at.
And this is where accountability partners are important. In this case, it was my wife.
Exactly.
I consider her to be an accountability partner, where if I'm moving in a direction that she sees, okay, this guy's now going too far.
Yep.
Bring me back, rein me in to where I need to be. And if we complement each other,
exactly,
we are in essence building each other up.
And it's a team. And I think that you guys, and honestly, I not because Angel's here, but I admire the relationship, because they're a great team. And on top of that, they're a beautiful relationship, which again, he was mentioning earlier, why do you align with people? The reason I like hanging out with Angel is his values, the way he treats his wife. He opens the door for her. Now I'm doing the same thing. And yesterday, go ahead.
I wasn't always that nice.
Of course.
You have to implement changes.
Exactly.
And you learn from those that are 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps ahead of you.
Yep.
And so you learn, because there's always room for improvement.
Always. And that never ends, guys. Like and when we were going about the being aware, once you know that, it's super powerful, because when you're at work delivering everything. And I say this from the heart, Angel vacations a lot, and I love that, because he's been able to get to that point where he can do that. And the other thing is, when he's at work, this guy is freaking monster, right? He delivers. When he's with his wife, he's a monster. I don't know, I haven't not in detail, but like you can see how much he loves his wife, and you can see the other way around. So and then when he's on vacation, he's vacationing. He loves to go all in on anything he does, and for me, that's inspiring. So thank you for
I appreciate that. Take that compliment, and I put it to heart. And we continue to talk about real estate, and today specifically about entrepreneurship and capitalism, because we strongly believe that one way that you can create wealth is through home ownership. That is why we always talk about it.
Yep.
I love tenants. I've said it before. We continue to say it. We love tenants. You have multiple tenants, but we also encourage tenants to consider being homeowners, because it's a long-term investment. You see how that word comes out.
Yep.
So I knew of a couple back in San Diego. They came from New York and they moved to San Diego. He was a federal employee and they never bought because they came from New York. They rented in New York and they came to San Diego. And
that's all they knew.
That's all they knew. But yet they would get a new car each, get a new nice car every 2, 3, 4 years. And they kept living in an apartment, in an apartment, in an apartment throughout the years. Never, ever were able to have a place of their own, and on times and occasions having to move because the landlord's saying you got to move and this.
I got to sell, whatever. Well, you can also be in the other side. Let's say you're the homeowner and you had that desire to, you know what, become a landlord and start investing. And if these people knew the importance of owning a home and then maybe buying another one as a rental and then now providing a rental, they can have those tenants not only pay for their house, but also pay for their cars that they like to enjoy, right? That's the lifestyle.
Exactly. So this is what I was getting at. We're talking about capitalism and entrepreneurship and real estate because that's what we do.
Yep.
So you can decide, I'm just going to buy a primary home, Angel. That's a good start. I applaud that.
Yep.
But if you have built equity and you would like to talk about investing in rental properties, there are ways you can do that. And you can create generational wealth, okay? So as entrepreneurs, as capitalists, we love creating an impact for our lives today, but also creating a positive impact for the generations that come behind us.
Yep.
Okay. Now, it's just not give. It's creating the mindset, the work ethic that we mentioned earlier, which in turn creates opportunities. When we're creative with our minds, when we're passionate about what we do, opportunities abound, and they are here for us today.
Definitely. And I feel like if you are willing to be uncomfortable, and again, going back to capitalism, you just got to get out of your comfort zone and get out. Maybe you've been wanting to start your own business forever, and you say, you know what? Look at that guy, man. I thought about doing that, and he's now doing it. Man, I should have, could have, would have. Jump on it. One of the things that I want to say, Angel, is we all have we're like this candle. I have a candle right here. I'm just going to give you guys a little example. So this candle right here has a wick, right? And it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. That's your life.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen for me is like people say, why do you get up so early, Juan? I want to live. I'm anxious to get up and go. I need to rest, right? And I do. Yet I want to get up and live life. Yes. I don't want to be unconscious. So when I get up and go and do and live, I'm having the best time of my life. Yes, I could rest. I could be unconscious, asleep. Yet I'd rather get up and go because I think it's very little time. I mean, I'm 40. I'll be 44 years old this August.
And you're old.
So if you guys want to send me a little birthday gift, that's all right. Anyways, what I'm saying is we all have a candle. We're like a candle, right? And our wick is getting smaller and smaller. So what difference are you going to make in your life, other people's lives, and what are you going to be able to enjoy while you're here? And again, nothing comes for free, right?
No, at all. Nothing comes for free. So when you hear, hey, you get this for free, well, there's going to be something.
There's something. Nothing's free, guys.
But it's cool when it sounds like, well, you know, you're going to buy something anyways. Like I go and get groceries, right? So I use a particular credit card that gives me X amount points and money back and whatever. Well, you know, that's great because I was going to spend the groceries anyway. So it kind of complements. I see it as, okay, that's a benefit, but nothing is for free.
Exactly.
But having said that, capitalism, socialism, two different words, two different meanings, perspectives, different perspectives. I just feel, and this is my personal opinion based on my life, that
you've been in other countries too, no?
Oh yeah, I've traveled abroad. I've been to Asia, to Europe, and to Latin America, different parts of Latin America. I've worked out there. I've seen it. I love America, the United States of America, and for what it stands for. And that's why we're having this conversation. If you are interested in knowing more about real estate, and if you already own a property and you would like to sit down and talk with us and pick our brains regarding investing in more real estate, we can certainly help you with that. Feel free to reach out to us. Our information is readily available to you. And we appreciate the time that you've taken to spend with us here on this episode.
I'm going to leave with my, I have this little picture up here about entrepreneur, and it says an entrepreneur is a person who's up late working 100 hours for themselves to avoid working 40 hours for someone else.
Big difference.
So again, guys, your choice. You can be an employee. You can be an employer. It's all right. It's all good. We need everybody. Right. Exactly. So whatever you are, be the best at it, right? If you're going to be a janitor, be the best freaking janitor out there that, when the owner comes by and says, you know what, this guy's the best guy in the world. I remember it was one of the presidents. I think he went to the space station, and there was this janitor, and he's like, so what do you do here? The president asked, like, you know what? We're putting a man on the moon. He's part of the team, right?
Exactly.
So no matter what you do, there's no good or right or wrong. Everything that any trade, any position, I've done everything, guys. Every time I tell them, oh, I did that. I worked the restaurants. I've done everything. And
you know why? Because you had the search mode.
Exactly.
You're search hungry. Now, I knew of an individual who passed away very close to me who worked in a factory assembling refrigerators. And he enjoyed what he did.
Yeah.
He knew what time he needed to be at work, what time he would have his lunch break, what he was going to eat, and what time he was going to be off of work that day to get home. Okay. He enjoyed it and he was happy. But the difference is, unfortunately, sometimes I see individuals that work doing the same job, but they're complaining about the gentleman down the street or at church that came rolling in a nice caddy, dressing with a nice suit, and they start talking and gossiping about that individual.
Not knowing what he did to get there.
Exactly. Not knowing what he still does to
all the
maintain himself there, and not knowing what he does for charity that doesn't even have to be mentioned.
Exactly.
Okay. Impacting the lives of many. So
I got goosebumps. That's awesome. Yep.
So anybody out there listening, it's okay to be a person 9 to 5.
Yep.
That brings joy to you. I have respect and I applaud you.
I have another story just before we go, Angel. One of my friends, I've known him since 2011. Back then, I was driving an old beat-up van that used to kind of not start sometimes. And the guy would help me out. He would jumpstart my car. And, we were going through the hardship after 2008. And recently, he reminded me of that, which it humbled me and made me realize, first of all, where we're at and how blessed we are, thanks to capitalism. But the reason I'm mentioning this guy is not because of what we went through, is because of his story. The guy came here illegally. He's now legal. But at that point, when I met him, he owned about 6 properties back then. Wow. And he works on a 9-to-5 job. Yep. But he wasn't content with just doing what he was doing. He was still, he actually had a mentor. He mentions it quite often.
Very important to have.
Yeah, he says, you know what? I met this old man that I asked him, dude, how do you do it? Because he actually rented from this guy. And just like we say, if you're renting, look into buying. He actually was curious about it. And he started just kind of with that radar, looking out for that opportunity, where he now owns actually several properties, and he acts as a bank now. He finances properties for people that can purchase. Wow. So talk about opportunity, the opportunity that he's creating for other people, allowing them to be part of the American dream. Amen. And because he was benefited from it. So know that these people that are well off, the majority of them, I'm not saying there's bad people out there. There's bad people everywhere and anywhere. However, the majority of people that are wealthy and successful, they work really hard.
And they're giving.
They're giving and they're sharing what they know. And again, I've been blessed by meeting a lot of people that are uber successful, that are multimillionaires, and that they sit down with me and they share what they've done to get there. So
awesome.
Just know that, guys, that not everybody out there is bad that has money. Most of them are very humble people that work really hard to get to what's right.
That's correct. Again, thank you for being with us on another episode of the Grimaldo Group, where we love helping families and anyone create wealth through homeownership
and capitalism.
And I am an entrepreneur.
Amen. Awesome. Right. Have a good day, guys.
You too.